Not that one just yet. Okay, so this is really about, I think this is probably one of my, right up there is one of my most important deliveries actually, because this is sort of showing the evolution of not just the internet, but of human thought and consciousness. This really is a consciousness evolution. And I always said we're entering into the consciousness age or the exponential age, and it's becoming more and more refined, and we're moving from a sort of a gross physical material-based reality to a more energetic-based reality. And the internet is really, even though it's artificial, it's quite a good analogy of that. And I think you'll probably see it as we go along. So we're talking about the birth and the history and evolution of the internet. And the original creators of the internet were these computer scientists, Vinton Cerf and Bob Kahn. They are the guys that are credited with inventing the internet communication, the protocols that we use today, and the system referred to as the internet. I know that these guys, either they were then tapped by DARPA, or maybe they were already on the payroll of DARPA, who knows. But yeah, I'm sure it probably in the early days it was birthed with good intentions, but obviously that's not the case now. So the internet was started way back in the 1960s, and it was actually a way for government employees to share information. And they were very large computers. They were mainframe computers. They were huge, what's called a COBOL-based program computers. And, they were very cumbersome and way slower. Another thing I didn't know, a catalyst for the formation of the internet was the heating up of the Cold War, or the cooling of the Cold War, the freezing of the Cold War. And, the Soviet Union launched that Sputnik satellite, which I clearly remembered. And they realized that the US Defense Department realized they had to have other ways of sharing information. This led to the formation of the ARPANET, Advanced Research Projects Agency, and that network was ultimately evolved into what we now know as the internet. ARPANET was a great success for them, but membership was only limited to certain academic and research organizations who had contracts with the Defense Department. January the 1st, 1983, interesting how they often bring out these major evolutions on January the 1st. I find that quite interesting. That is considered the official birthday of the internet. Prior to this, the various computer networks did not have a standard way to communicate with each other. So a new communications protocol was established called Transfer Control Protocol Internetwork Protocol, TCP, as we know. This allowed different kinds of computers on different networks to talk to each other. And that's interesting because that same thing is happening with blockchains today, but in a totally different way. ARPANET and the Defense Data Network officially changed to the TCP standard on January 1st, 1983, hence the birth of the internet. All networks could now be connected by a universal language. And that IP part our computer has an IP address, and it's through that IP address that they can track and trace us as well, by the way. So each internet was given its own unique code. The creator of the World Wide Web. So this is the next big evolution of the internet. This was created by a guy called Tim Berners-Lee, and he proposed the World Wide Web in 1989. He proposed it, and he basically created it. And he was working for CERN at the time, which I find also interesting. And the first web browser was created by Berners-Lee. And the World Wide Web, or what we know as, internet, the websites we have today, is based on a code called hypertext. And Berners-Lee gave the web to the world for free. He did it for free, which I found interesting. He never copyrighted it. And that, to me, shows the measure of the man. So I definitely started looking deeper into him. And he founded the World Wide Web Foundation. And he's a strong advocate for net neutrality, which I really like. I mean, that's what we need, internet neutrality. And no one owns the internet. And where we can all basically democratize the internet in a very good way. And so I think that's pretty cool. So what is he doing now? Well, he's actually building in the Web3 blockchain space, which I find that really, really cool. So we'll just briefly just read a bit of this site. He's created a business called Inua. I think it's Inrupt. And through the startup Inrupt, him and CEO John Bruce have created what they call the Solid Pod, or a personal online data store. It allows people to keep their data in one central place and control which people and applications can access it, rather than having it stored by apps or sites all over the web. Users can get a pod from a handful of providers hosted by web services such as Amazon, which is quite ironic, or they can run their own server if they have the technical know-how. The main attraction to self-hosting is control and privacy, says Berners-Lee. Not only is user data safe from corporations and governments, it's also less likely to be stolen by hackers. I think we've all come to realize that the value of the web is embodied in the data available on it, he adds. In this new world of you looking after your own data, it doesn't live in big silos that are lucrative target for hackers. Inrupt's platform is being tested by the UK's National Health Service and by the government of Belgian region of Flanders. The latter plans to use pods to let its citizens choose how to share their personal data. So that to me is, that in itself is groundbreaking. And from a very small seed will come the tree. In October, the BBC introduced an experimental service using pods for watch parties, where multiple friends stream a program at the same time. When the watch party ends, the user can see the data that has been generated, including which program they watched and who else joined, and choose whether to delete or edit the information, or let the BBC use it. So they've got control over it and they've got choice. Owning your data. Launched in 2017, Inrupt reportedly raised 30 million in December 21. And Berners-Lee says it will help deliver the next iteration of the web, Web 3, which we're going to go into. Paul Brody, of global blockchain leader at consulting firm Ernst & Young, believes Web 3 could change the way we use the internet. You'll hear people talk about Web 3 and decentralization as being very similar in ideas and goals, he says. Owning your own data and really controlling your own commerce infrastructure is something that Web 3 will enable. It will be ultimately really transformational for users. Berners-Lee hopes his platform will give control back to internet users. I think the public has been concerned about privacy. The fact that these platforms have a huge amount of data and they abuse it, he says. But I think what they're missing sometimes is the lack of empowerment. You need to get back to a situation where you have autonomy and you have control of all your data. Yeah, he couldn't agree more on that. So I think he's going to be a real advocate. He's only 68 years old. He's still very active, and I look forward to seeing more about his program, his platform. So I'll just close that and come back now to this. So when we're looking at the past and where we are now and where we're heading, you could categorize it as Web 1, and was known as read-only data, basically. It was pretty much you just read what was put on the websites. You read what was online. Then Web 2 came along, and that's where we got the ability to write our own data and write our websites, and we could online shop and that sort of thing. So it was kind of two-way interaction. And then now we've got Web 3 right upon us now, where we can read, write, and own our data and what we put on there. And so that's the big leap forward. And not only do we own our data, we can monetize our data, and we can monetize our existing. We can monetize more money. We basically own our own money, so we can do with our money what we want to do. That is very obviously right in my wheelhouse. So data really is the new oil, but data we own is the new gold. I've said this before. I've heard this saying before, and that encapsulates it perfectly. In a fully digital world, we absolutely must protect and secure our data and our money at all costs. It should be paramount to everybody. And I find it incredible that all these naysayers, all these people are telling us that Web3 and decentralization and crypto is a nothing burger. They do not understand at all what's really involved here. They're missing the woods for the trees completely. And now with Web3 and this owning our data age, we can be our own bank, we can be our own journalist, we can be our own practitioner, we can be our own whatever we want to be. And that is hugely liberating. And it's all about being who we are and controlling our own destiny with that independence and freedom from centralized control. These are all, when I write and research these articles and research this information, I get these downloads like being your own bank was something we'd already coined. But now I realize, we can be our own journalist. We can be our own practitioner. We can be our own, whatever you want to be. And in a fully digital world where everything is software and everything is digitized, if we don't own our own data, someone absolutely will. And so that is the big danger. So you can't fight the digitization with something prior to that. You've got to meet the digitization with better digital software or innovation so that we can stay ahead of what they're actually trying to do, which is herd us into this digital prison of a sorts. So Web3 is arguably the most important invention of the 20th century. I would say it definitely is when you put Web3 into the mix. I think it's right now, it is definitely the most important invention. And Web3 could also be seen as the sixth major cycle of humanity. There's been 6 huge cycles, and there's many, many smaller cycles within that. But I'm looking at the bigger iterations of human development. Going back to the beginning, it was agriculture. When we moved from hunter-gatherer to farming and horticulture, that was like a massive leap forward in humanity. And then along came money, and in those days it was real money. It was gold and silver and other intrinsically valuable things for the day and age, like probably food would be a type of money. Salt was a money. Because they used it for so many things, preserving, for health, for digestion, for gazillion things salt gets used for. Then we came to printing, the printing press, books, access to knowledge that way. And then we moved to manufacturing, industry, electricity, automobiles, the machinery that we have, the cars and all that sort of stuff. Then it was the internet. And now it's only like 60 years from the 60 years from the absolute earliest stages of the internet. And now we're already in Web3. So you can see how the timeline between each is getting shorter and shorter. So everything is getting speeded up. And we're now on the verge of a fully decentralized world. I say on the verge because it's going to probably take 10 or 15 years, I think, for it to be fully bedded in. But however, we're on the cusp of that now. In the earliest days of the internet, it was not immediately monetized. Basically, everything was shared freely. There was no monetization. People could get access to just about anything in those days, and it was very, it was basically no censorship, and you could get access to the real truth very easily. The internet was originally designed to be permissionless and people governed. That was Tim Berners-Lee's vision anyway. And now, of course, we've got a fully permissioned-based internet. We've got a permissioned-based world. And so that clearly needs to change. The key networks back in the day were email and web, the websites. And now it's blockchain, cryptography, which is actually where the word crypto comes from. It's a shortened version of cryptography or encryption. And also I would say AI now. AI is another key network. And everything changed for the internet in the early to mid 2000s. Soon after 9/11, and they brought in that draconian act that America brought in soon after 9/11. That's why it was created, to clamp down on us. And then came the rise of big tech, social media networks. Out of that came Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft. These are the big players that still dominate today. So then we've got the takeover of the internet started in earnest. Internet went from permissionless to permissioned, and it got intermediated. So these big tech firms got in the middle between us and the other parties, and they started controlling the internet and became kind of middlemen, if you like, or gatekeepers. We did get access to some amazing technologies, and that's how they sold it to us. There's no doubt that some of the technology we deal with is amazing, but we paid, and we're paying a very heavy price for that, which is now becoming apparent. I think a lot of people still are completely unaware of the price they're paying, but it's chickens must come home to roost eventually. It's become harder and harder to monetize your online work, and big tech and financial players have begun censoring, shadow banning, and deplatforming in major ways now. I myself am getting shadow banned. It's a very insidious form of basically shielding, me from my audience. People are getting deplatformed, and censoring is rife. And bringing in some draconian, they're going to try and bring in some laws about this, about the abuse of online, so-called abuse. I think it's going to fail miserably, but not before some shouting and yelling. And we got exposed to a lot of unwanted ads. They were thrust in front of us. And at first I thought, how is it so synchronous that I'm getting this ad when I was just thinking about it or writing about it or whatever? Then I realized it's coming from our own data. And that was like when a major penny dropped for me, when I realized they are putting the ads in front of me based on my search history, what I write about, our own websites. And I thought, right. But then I didn't have any solutions. I didn't know what to do until blockchain, until I started understanding blockchain. So internet is all about networks. Everything is a network within networks. It's networks everywhere. And they're effectively killing our ability to network, all in the name of safety. They don't want us communicating freely and building our own communities. They want us to basically be beholden to their way. This enabled only the big players to grow at our expense, thus centralizing everything online. And you can see everything has been centralized everywhere. It's not just online, but online is where the focus is at this point. So the real problem is permission. We have to seek permission from big tech firms. And actually, we have to seek permission to do a lot of things: open a bank account, open a business. When you think about it, I mean, again, another light bulb went off for me when I realized, oh my God, we just do it without thinking, and we submit all our data and we beg for permission to be let in, and now they're just using it against us like hugely. So this has definitely got to stop, and blockchain is really an amazing way to deal with this problem. So and we have to pay rent basically to use the internet, and app stores are charging huge commission on the apps. Basically we're getting charged left, right, and center for just trying to use the internet. The fees on everything, the charges, it's all really mounting up. So creativity, people's human creativity, which is our strength, which one of our human strengths, is literally being taxed, not figuratively being taxed, it's literally being taxed. And with all of this centralization, they can squash all their competition. So it's not a fair playing field. It's not level playing field. Big tech is becoming more powerful than entire nations now. And that's, I think, partly what's causing a lot of the chaos in the world, because they're now really exercising that power over other, and not just over us, but over other countries. Just think of what they've done to and doing to Africa, for instance. Most people do not even think about this, thus allowing these corporates free rein. If it's free, you're the product. That's so true. So free social media, free this, free that, all on the lure of it's cheap, it's free, it's good for us, it's really user-friendly, whatever, but it's not free. We are the product, and that is a heavy, heavy price. Regulations is often only consolidating the central power, because big companies can deal with the compliance costs, and they have friends in political positions that give them favor. Just think of all the lobbyists in government. Lobbying is huge, and they're basically, certain corporations are buying different politicians. That is actually happening in reverse now. Big crypto firms now are now lobbying, particularly in America. They're lobbying certain politicians, and they're getting lured in by the money. But at the end of the day, that's what they have to do to try and balance the books. And a lot of money is coming into crypto now from everywhere, from big firms as well as from smaller ones. So that's a real tectonic shift that's going on there. So we can ask ourselves, is software the answer? So when you think about it, almost anything can be coded into software. It is literally the encoding of human thought. And again, I hadn't really thought of software in that way before, but I thought, wow, that is exactly what's going on. It's encoding of human thought. And if you think about it, back in the hunter-gatherer days, cave drawings were the software of the ancient past. Books are essentially a type of software, which its writing is encoded, just like software is encoding of numerals, mainly zeros and ones. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that now with encryption. But it's essentially encoding of human thought and numbers and letters. That's really what it is. Steve Jobs said that computers are a bicycle for the mind. I thought that was cool saying. Software is one of its key things is software is extremely expressive and malleable. So it's in a way it could be seen as more like art than actual engineering, which this is another concept that was put towards me, and I thought, oh wow, yeah, because if you think about it, if you're sculpturing something, it's highly malleable, it's expressive. Art will express the artist's feelings, it will tell a story, and software is actually the same. And with the blockchain, that is highly malleable. It's like plasticine. You can mail it, you can mold it into whatever you desire. The only limit is your imagination. And so software almost has an unlimited quality to it, an infinite quality. The internet is now being reimagined with encrypted software, and this levels the playing field. Now, I'm going to say something on that quote, level the playing field, because you see a lot of the big talking heads talking about we're leveling the playing field, we're leveling the playing field. And obviously, they are talking about a different playing field. This is how they weaponize, they make phrases and they put them out there. And then when we try to then use the same phrase, people jump on you and say, oh, are you part of the WEF or the UN or whatever? Because that's what they say all the time. No, well, I'm going to say it in the intention and meaning that I mean, and it's really going to level the playing field. And not their playing field, but this is our playing field. And we have to be on the field to play the game. So this is, to me, this is all part of just turning the tables and being very strong in your own mind and your intentions and going, nah, yeah, we all too can play that game. So now we're at the beginning of a whole new innovation where blockchain, AI, really advanced computer chips, they call GPUs, and virtual reality are all converging. So this is creating an exponentiality to our life, speeding things up dramatically. So blockchain on its own has got an exponential quality. But when you add all this in and when you focus on the decentralized concept, like I know there are amazing decentralized artificial intelligence projects now. There's artificial intelligence projects that are dedicated to bringing the real truth of our history, human history, out to the people. So there are some incredibly amazing things going on. So we have to really look closer, not just the surface. It's very nuanced. There's a lot of nuances in this, and it's these nuances or these little subtle differences is where a lot of people get confused and lost. They don't understand what we're talking about. When we say decentralized blockchain, people immediately have an image of a CBDC. Or if I say crypto, they have an image of CBDC or something similar. If I say blockchain, they say you're chained up. You know, so it's like you're dealing with people's perceptions and conditioning around words, but we just got to keep forging ahead and clarifying and repeating ourselves almost till we're blue in the face in this space. You know, very soon the masses are going to wake up and they're going to be very, very shocked. So a new type of internet is emerging, as we've been saying, where you can own your share. And that means our data. It means we can not just own our data, but we can own a share in this new infrastructure, in the new internet infrastructure, Web3. We can either wholly own assets or we can fractionally own assets, and we can fractionally own the infrastructure that enables Web3 to actually operate. And that is like massive. So we can really get close to the pie on this case. Not just our data is one thing, but imagine owning the infrastructure. That's what we're doing with some of the projects that we're involved in. And of course, we can own our own money, because some of us know here that our money in the bank is not owned by us. It's owned by the bank. And if the bank are bankrupt, then we don't own our money. It's as simple as that. So now we can own it all. or we can own fractions of, which is a groundbreaking concept in itself. So that means even small people with a small amount of money can basically get their toehold in this new internet. Basically, this is real democratization of ownership. We're democratizing ownership. We're democratizing the internet in its purest form, in its absolute purest form. Nothing to do with the Democrats in America. Anyone can become a network stakeholder. Again, that word stakeholder is being highly weaponized. There's another weaponized word, but I'm going to use it anyway. We can be the stakeholders, not just the cabal. We are genuinely and literally got a stake in these new holdings or this new internet. We can now do all three actions: read, write, and own. We can also speak, play, and self-invest to earn, along with our data as an income source. So we can basically cover all bases. And playing to earn, happening in gaming now. We can speak and earn. We can write and earn. We can even read and earn. We can walk and earn. We can do just about everything we do now and earn. And that is like massive, you know. And then when you think about decentralized social media, where we can do it in a media platform that's fully censorship free, then we are definitely on the road. So it does not matter what you do or your place in the world, or how smart you think you are, or how dumb you think you are. What you do and say can be monetized because someone sees you as a target market for their products and services. There's going to be someone in the digital world, even if it's just what you wear, what your footwear you have, whether you're a walker, this and that. They're targeting you because they know that you could be a candidate for their products and services. And in this world, you can give them permission whether they can get access to you. That is like massive turning the tables, pure inversion towards the people. So blockchains, blockchain, we've got to mention blockchain because this is really central. This is what software is. It's called a blockchain. It's really central to everything that's happening in this new internet. Blockchain, it is a database, but it's not just any old database. It's a database that can be edited, it can be shared, and it can be trusted. Absolutely trusted. When you know you're dealing with a bona fide blockchain, because once it's released, it can't be, once it's released, I mean, obviously editing happens in the beginning stages, but it doesn't get edited once it's out there unless they let us know and they say, we're going to edit it, we're going to introduce this new protocol, and we get to vote over that. We can get governance over that. This is not a centralized blockchain we're talking about. It's obviously decentralized, and it's obviously got to be done with the right players and the right organizations and stuff behind it. But that's another matter. But we know it can be done, and we're seeing it in action. But really, the blockchain is more than it. It's actually a new type of computer, but it's not hardware. It's software. It's a software internet that goes through it connects with all the computer networks, and it runs like a computer, but it's invisible. It's completely visible. And then once these blockchains get all linked up, like Ethereum is doing it now, as the Ethereum platform, all the businesses and projects that are building on Ethereum They call it the Ethereum virtual machine. And their design is to basically become the new internet in its own right as the Ethereum. But I think there's going to be, it's all going to link up to one big, huge interconnected blockchain network. Ethereum won't have it all to themselves, and we'll choose to be able to hop around into different blockchains, which is going to be like hopping into different communities. So at the moment, the hardware that we use, our phones, our computers, all these devices, and the people that have built it and own it, they are controlling the software, and therefore they're controlling us. Now in Web3, they flip that completely on its head. Now the software controls or governs the network of the hardware devices. And that again it's complete. This is why it's so disruptive. It literally throws the old paradigm out the window, and it's really reinventing the internet from the ground up. From the foundations are getting completely dissolved and re-implemented. So in blockchain, the real key superpower of blockchain is it can create inviolable rules. It can create things that are set in stone. It can, and then automate it. And so that's why it's trusted. Once it is created to the perfect design, when I say perfect, it's always been worked on, but it can be created so that it's working for the people all the time, every time, never with any downtime. So that is the real superpower of blockchain. That's why it can be trusted. This really puts the power in our hands, not big tech. And there's a lot more of us than them. Blockchain creates a whole new way of living, working, and playing, and it incentivizes innovation, whereas now they're disincentivizing innovation. They don't want small businesses. They don't want little people getting into the crypto. They don't want people having freedom and independence by creating their own things. They want to rule everything. So this movement, this Web3 movement, is flying directly in the face of the exact opposite, as we know, in the world, and hence why the chaos. There's a giant split happened in the world. And so this is very exciting times, very exciting times. Once you know the game, you can get excited. If you don't know the game, you're going to be fearful and, despondent, and you're going to lose hope. So this blockchain also, what it does is it combines societal network benefits with a type of free market capitalism. We could say free internet market capitalism. It really does bring back free market capitalism into the fore. Instead of the current version of capitalism we got is not capitalism. That is not what originally was designed as a free market economy. Public-private partnerships, backdoor deals, cartels that own just about everything. That's not capitalism. That is communism disguised as a type of capitalism. That's all it is. When a few companies and corporates own the majority of the resources, you can't call that free market. Absolutely. So this also blockchain creates direct access to the community with no middleman. Another superpower is that we can get direct access. And we've seen that with how we can just jump in on a crypto platform without having to have the permission. We can send our money anywhere, anytime, no one in between. That's amazing. But we can literally become like venture capitalists. We can become like the new free market venture capitalists, and and we can create communities and societal sort of communities that are based for the people. So basically, in conclusion, blockchain and the new innovations are going to change everything in the next few years. This is why I started to get a little bit more vocal. I know on Monday I was feeling a bit wound up on Monday, you might have noticed, but I don't mean it to slight anyone or hurt anyone. I really just starting to feel this force or power that's coming through me, and I'm starting to feel like the message needs to get out there in a little bit more urgency. And that's why it's incredible that I'm talking here to about five or six people when this information is just so groundbreaking and so many people don't want to know. So I find that incredible. Anyway, that's always takes a few hardy souls to change the whole. So as I say, this is partly leading to the chaos because the governments and the corporations know now these majorly disruptive technologies are going to hurt them if they don't try and get ahead of it. The trouble is, the more they try to get ahead of it, the more that they're fostering this. They're actually playing into their own hands. So they're sowing the seeds of their own destruction. So the technology is far superior to a human when, you've got a few humans who are very exposed. If they try to take on this technology, they're going to lose every time. I mean, you only have to release a blockchain out and it can't be stopped. It can't be, the technology itself can't be stopped. And as the network effect takes hold and more people start using it, people eventually they know that with the security of the blockchain, they can basically stick their finger up to the governments and go, well, stop us. They won't be able to. So this is really what the fourth turning is. Again, it's another weaponized statement, but the fourth turning is really it's a major turning of the way society conducts itself. It's a major turning that's towards the people, not away from the people. And all the WEF and the UN and their cronies are trying to do is obfuscate that. They're trying to make it into their kind of version for us, where really this is really all about the people. It's all about the turning of you could say the turning of the worm or the turning of the wave is now moved into our favor. And the more that they scream and yell and try and clamp down on our freedoms, the more and more problem they're going to have. And, we've also with the new energy innovations that are right around the corner as well, where we can literally have a box that could sit on our desk or in our car or in our house, and it can power everything. That is really, really close as well. And that to me that on its own will be absolutely massive because everything runs on energy. So we're heading into that time as well. We might have to wait another 7 to 10 years before they fully start getting out there like the blockchain is now, but it's not far away. And so you combine that with all this other internet evolution that's going on, and we can fully take our power back on every level. So I reckon everyone should be focused on how we can contribute to that and build this new future based on these technologies. Not everyone has to be a technologist. I'm not a technologist. I don't build websites. I don't build blockchains or create software. But we can find a place where, even if it's just as a consumer or a user, everyone, the more we participate in it, the more this is just going to exponentially roll. And it is already destined to. It's already really firing up now. So we're heading into like a quantum age, and it will be magical, and it will be hugely exponential. And that's what we're really going to see, I think, in the next couple of years. Once this so-called reset happens and the collapse or partial collapse or the reset of the existing system starts happening from the top, then all these innovations and technology are going to just suddenly be in our face and come to the fore, and under absolute necessity will come the real magic. And all we're just doing is just kind of futurizing a bit at the moment, but there's so many cool things to look forward to. But we just got to get through the next 2 years or so, or 3 years, are going to be very challenging, harrowing, confronting in lots of different ways. There's nothing wrong with feeling fear to me. It's a matter of whether you're facing the fear, because then that renders it inert. You can't. Fear only has reign when it's unaddressed and when it's unconscious. As soon as we make it conscious, we're turning that fear, which is darkness, into light. And that's really the superpowers that we have as humans. That supersedes any innovation like internet, but it all plays its part. Everything plays its part. So that's basically, that is the presentation for today. I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I actually enjoyed researching that. And I'll just stop.